This is very important for us to watch as trend forecasters because there could be a lot of defaults on these startup companies, and we could have a dot-com bust 2.0. So going back to the wild cards, as much as Trump is going to do to try to keep this economy going, if that wild card is dealt as a dot-com bust, it's going to be a tough trip.
Hello, hello, hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. And we have a very interesting show today. With I've never met him face to face, but I think I've known him all my life. And we're going to go into that because we're going to be talking about a man named Donald Trump. And our guest today is Gerald Celente. But it's not so much the person, but where we're from. And Gerald is from Queens, and he lives in New York. I went to school near Queens on the Long Island. And President Trump is from Queens, and he shocked the world when a boy from Queens moved into Manhattan and started to buy it. And the reason I wanted Gerald on this program today, because old Donald Trump, man, he has many people that hate him. I mean, hate him as much as people love him. And we're going to be talking about the Queens style of negotiations. Because if you're not tough in Queens, you're flatter than a pizza. Gotta be tough. And I'm so glad I went to school right there, riding the Long Island Railroad all the time and growing up in Queens because I came up from Hawaii and everybody's aloha and nice and sweet. And you get to New York, man, they don't give a shit what you think of them. They'll tell you straight to your face, straight to your face. And by the way, here's a picture. I'll send this to Gerald. It's a picture of the Donald and I, and I don't think you can see it. There's a patch on his ear. This is the day after he got shot. And so Donald and I were in Milwaukee together for the Republican National Convention. And I feel such a kindred spirit with Donald and our guest, Gerald Celente, because if you don't grow up in Queens, you're a wimp. You know what I mean? So, Joe, we're going to talk about the Queen's attitude towards negotiation. Only Donald would say, we're going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That's so Queens, you know what I mean? And we're going to take Greenland. He doesn't even own the damn thing, but he's going to buy it anyway. And it's that attitude. So, Joe, welcome to the Rich Dad Radio Show. I feel like I've known you for all my life because we grew up in the same part of the world. So give us a little bit of your background first, Joe, in the Trends Journal, of course, but it's Queens I want to talk about.
Well, actually, and thank you so much for having me on. I honor everything that you do. And when it comes to the economy, where things are going and seeing it ahead, you're the guy that does it. And so thank you very much and for all the great work you've done.
Well,
Actually, I'm from the Bronx.
oh, from the Bronx.
I'm a Napolitano from the Bronx.
Okay, that's the same part of the world.
Oh, it's a little different trip. It's a little harder trip. And again, I'm the same age, as we are as Trump.
Yeah.
And we were born at the perfect time in America.
Right.
It's right after World War II. The spirit is at the height. Matter of fact, one of my books is called What Zidzi Gave Honey Boy. Zidzi is the Neapolitan dialect for auntie. Zia is aunt. Zidzi is auntie. And the love, the spirit, and the freedom that you had, and you're talking about Trump being Trump and who he is. I was in an incubator for a number of months. My dad, may they all rest in peace, was over 6 feet. My sister's like 5'9", 5'10". My brothers are over 6 feet. I was only 5'6". And I come home crying one day, and I'm about 6 years old. And my father, what are you crying about? I said, I got beat up. He said, you don't come home crying. And he walked away from me. I became the toughest kid. I was the smallest, but I was the fastest. Yeah. And when you have that Bronx attitude, there are no rules to anything. You're just yourself. And I'll never forget when I knew he was going to win the election back in 2016. They had a debate. And there was a little Jeb Bush on the stage over there. And Trump goes up to him and puts his arm around him and said, basically, you're a little nobody, but he didn't say it like that. But and little Jeb Bush just went like this. That was the Trump attitude.
Yeah.
If Trump put his arm on my shoulder, I get that arm right off me. But little Jebby Bush was a little daddy's boy,
Yeah.
didn't have the fight in him. So Trump, we had forecast in our magazine that Trump would beat Hillary Clinton. By the way, I got it wrong this election. I thought in the beginning Harris was going to win. And again, only because of the data. And the data showed that the Republicans didn't do well in the midterm election because the number one issue back then, again, only by the data, was the abortion issue. And the Republicans were against abortion, the Democrats were for it. And this is when inflation was at 9% and Biden's ratings were in the toilet back in 2022. And Republicans didn't do well. So I thought, anyway, so going back to Trump, now he's in and he has that attitude, don't tell me what to do, I'm going to tell you what to do. And he's going to do it in any way he wants to do it. Love it. Again, I'm a political atheist. I'm not on any side. And I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. There's a picture of me when I picked up Ronald Reagan at the Chicago Hilton and put on a brunch with 16 of our board of directors 2 days before he's announcing he's running against Gerald Ford. And I used to work on major political campaigns in Westchester County, and that's how I got my start. So I've been on the other side. So I don't. To me, neither. I'm not a member of either party. So we look at facts for the way they are, where they're going. And this Trump thing is going to be a whole different trip that we've never seen in modern times.
Right. He is going to shake it upside down. You know. Another thing I want to talk about the Bronx because I had such fond memories of going to school. I was 18 years old when I get there, and we had this kid named Al Novak from the Bronx, and because you want to play basketball, but there's 10 guys, only 5 guys can make the team, and if you couldn't hit from 3 feet, you weren't on the team. You know what I mean? So one day I was there shooting with Novak, and he could hit. Every kid from the Bronx could shoot baskets. You know what I mean? Because that's how they survived. Because if you couldn't hit from 3 for the 3-pointer, you didn't get the team.
Yeah.
I still remember I said, these guys are so much tougher than I am. Does that make sense to you? I mean, so much tougher. I remember riding the Long Island Railroad, and I asked the conductor, I said, would you wake me up outside of Great Neck? He told me to fuck off. And so, Gerald, what I want to talk to you today about is this guy Trump is going to shake up the world. We're talking about the banksters. But man, this guy is kicking butt. I mean, he comes out with his tariffs, and immediately Canada caves, Mexico caves, and it was like China's going to cave. So Trump gets up there. He doesn't get pushed around. And so anything can add to that attitude of the Queens or the Bronx or that New York style attitude of negotiation. He's a tough son of a bitch, to build high rises in New York City. You've got to be so damn tough, work with all those unions. So what can you add to that upper Queens Bronx attitude of how you have to grow up?
Well, again, you're on your own. When I get in a fight with my father, he'd say to me, "A little SOB. So you think I'm telling you what I'm telling you because I want you to be like me? I want you to become yourself." And that was the attitude. You're on your own. You got to make it on your own. And again, Trump was very fortunate. He came from a money group over there. So he had a good start.
Yeah.
But there's no question that he's going to do what he wants to do. Again, the good and the bad of it. I'm not in favor of some of the things that he does, particularly on the geopolitical side. On the economic side, uh, he is going to do everything he can to keep pumping up the economy. To us, there's no question about it. And that means that, but there's the wild cards. And you can't ignore the wild cards. And one of the big wild cards that was just dealt last week was the deep sea card and how this whole AI thing is going. And we're very concerned that is there going to be a dot-com bust? Because that to us is a reality. And by the way, this was a Trends Journal back in 1999 when it was a quarterly. And there's the article right here, .com this. I forecast the .com bust. I said it would happen by the second quarter of 2000. It's right here. It did. It happened in March. Now let's go back to the AI. Trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. The AI has just been born, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? So we call the .com bust because all this money was flowing into these. Remember, that's the beginning of the internet revolution.
Right.
It didn't happen, what, until like the early 90s. And then,
Pets.com, all that stuff.
yeah,
You put .com after your name, you were in business.
you got it.
Yeah.
And so we said, this thing's going to go down. The same thing happened with AI. Everybody, not everybody, but a load of the companies, the hedge funds, et cetera, invested hundreds of billions of dollars into this AI without and these startup companies, the startups, and all of a sudden they come out with this deep seek or deep freak, I'm not sure. They come out with, yeah, we could do this a lot cheaper. It's not going to cost $100 million. It's going to cost $6 million.
That's a
Oh, and
Chinese.
all those power plants that we're going to build because we have to get these big chips. No, we don't need these big chips. This is very important for us to watch as trend forecasters because there could be a lot of defaults on these startup companies and we could have a dot-com bust 2.0. So going back to the wild cards, as much as Trump is going to do to try to keep this economy going, if that wild card is dealt as a dot-com bust, it's going to be a tough trip.
What do you see? I mean, look, I'm going to let you plug your Trends Journal because it's a fabulous publication. You're on the pulse. But what do you see? I mean, when people ask me about AI, it's called a college degree. I don't have any education. I think I know something. And when DeepSeek came out, I said, I don't know anything about it. But what do you see from the trend side?
Actually, this week we're doing a whole section on it. And the cover of the magazine is this week is going to be .com bust 2.0. It could well happen. This is very serious. I mean, you look at that Nvidia. What did they lose? Their stocks last week went down 17%, and a whole load of other companies went down with it, where they lost like $600 billion. And they rebounded a little bit, but this is very serious because again, the trend has just been born. And you have a lot of these startups that they invested all this money in. And again, also going into the building all of these resources to create more energy to build the chips. You're not going to need these big advanced chips, is what we're seeing now. And again, this whole AI, again, as we said from the beginning, when AI happened, this is just going to keep expanding. This is just the beginning of it. It's just going to keep growing. But we warned from the beginning to watch out for overinvestment into startup companies that are trying to get in the game, that are inventing something new, and they don't know how to invent it when it was old. That's our concern. So we think that this is just the beginning of that could very well be a dot-com bust.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're listening to my friend Gerald Celente from the New York's Queens, Bronx, Long Island area, northern Jersey, where, my first vacation, Gerald, ever in the States was in Jersey City. So my view of the world wasn't that affluent, but it was an interesting start. And we have a friend in common named Donald Trump, and he is one of the toughest negotiators I've ever seen. I mean, he just brought, China, Canada, and Mexico to their knees. He's a tough bastard, but people don't like that. So we come back, Gerald's part of the Trends Journal. He warned about the .com bust, and we had pets.com and all that stuff, and everybody was rushing into .coms.
Yeah, you remember. Yeah, you
Now
wrote
they're
about it. Yeah.
talking about AI, artificial intelligence. So we come back, we'll have our friend Gerald go into more what he sees for the future of AI, but more importantly, I share his concern. The overinvestment may suck the whole economy down the gurgler with it because too many people were betting on something that did not exist. We'll be right back with Gerald Celente. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Rich Bontrager for the Rich Dad team. And let me tell you, I can be more thrilled about the landslide win. Donald Trump is back in office, and we've got both the House and the Senate in our corner. That's huge. But let's get real for a second. While the victory is sweet, the challenges we face as a nation are nothing short than monumental. We've just come out of 4 years of economic chaos. Think about it. The dollar has lost value, inflation runs rampant, interest rates are through the roof, our national debt is out of control, and wars rage around the globe. Donald Trump has inherited an economy that's a total mess, and the burden to rebuild it is immense. Now, let's be honest, this isn't going to get fixed overnight. And even as we work to restore order, the cost of rebuilding will be steep. Printing more money to address the issues, ongoing assaults from BRICS nations on the dollar, and even climbing national debts are massive concerns. Here's the deal, your savings aren't in the clear. They're vulnerable to these uncertainties. And let me tell you, gambling with your wealth right now is not an option. In these last few years, that taught us anything that we need to take action, proactive steps to protect what we worked so hard to earn. That's why Rich Dad is partnering with Allegiance Gold, a company that we trust to protect your financial future. Gold and silver are timeless ways to hedge against economic chaos. They're not just investments, they're peace of mind for your wealth. Here's the kicker, when you start your investment with Allegiance Gold today, you'll even get free silver as part of their exclusive offer. Just mention Robert sent you, and they'll take great care of you. Folks, now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. Act today. Secure your wealth. Go to protectwithrobert.com or call 844-3-ROBERT. That's 844-376-2378. And let them help you get started today.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Radio Show. Longtime friend and guest, Gerald Celente. And we're talking about our friend, the Donald, who, when we all kind of grew up in the same area. I went to school on Long Island. Gerald's from the Bronx and Trump's from Queens. I remember when Trump made his move from Queens into the city, and a boy from Queens started buying the most prestigious real estate in the world. And now he's president, and he's not gonna back down. I mean, he threatened Canada, they backed off. Threatened Mexico, they backed off. But he's getting the job done. I think China's going to back off. But Gerald and I are going to talk about today. He's the Trends Journal. I suggest everybody get a copy of it. You want to find out what's going to happen in the near future. But we're going to talk about AI because AI sounds like .com. And I remember when everybody was rushing into the .com world, everybody was just throwing billions at it. And when it crashed, the economy crashed with it. So my concern is AI is going to suck it down the gurgler. There's too much money floating out there, and the banksters, as Gerald calls them, J.P. Morgan and those characters, they're just licking their chops because they're going to make so much money because they make money whether it goes up or it comes down. So welcome to the Rich Dad Radio Show, Gerald. And let's continue on what you see happening with AI and some of the trends. And I'd like to have you comment, tell people how they get, first of all, how can they get their hands on the Trends Journal?
Well, they could go to trendsjournal.com, and it's almost 200 pages a week. We cover everything from geopolitics, economics, high-tech science, technocracy, uh, uh, health, fitness, on and on and on. It's a magazine. You read what you want, and you can listen to it. It's in different languages, and of course, you could get a discount when you go to your code. And it's only $2.50 a week with that discount. The We're hardly getting anything anymore from the mainstream media. Journalism is dead. They keep firing people, firing people. And again, I want to thank you for being on, having me on. And you're a man that's called it the shots long before most people. And we're talking about the .com bust. And there's another. By the way, the Nasdaq went down what 80%, 80%, 80% when it crashed. And we're in that kind of situation. And there's something else that no one's talking about, and that's the office building bust.
True.
Your office, you could Google it up, Castle Systems with a K. Well, the last time I looked, I didn't look at this week. Last week, the office occupancy rate was 49.7%. Your office vacancy rate in the 10 largest cities, vacant, nobody in it, 20%. Now, the COVID began what? 2020.
Yeah.
Now, those people aren't renewing their leases after 5 years. We don't need all that space. You had a building in New York City, 50th Street, Midtown. Last year, in 2006, it sold for $320 or $312 million. It went up for auction. Sports Illustrated used to be there, one after another. It went up for auction. It sold for $8.5 million.
Holy mackerel.
Yep. It's a fact. Anybody could look it up. There are now, depending on whose numbers you're looking at, and by the way, the 20% vacancy rates in Moody's, we're looking at between $2 to $4 trillion in commercial real estate debt coming due this year and next year. There's going to be defaults. We're forecasting an office building bust that's going to start bringing down those banks. Let's go back to 2023. 3 banks went down: Conman Valley Bank, First Republic, and Signature Bank.
And Credit Suisse, some Swiss bank went down too.
That went
So,
down too. And
yeah.
what happened to the equity markets? Boop, they went down. And what happened to the gold? Shot up. We're in that same situation, but many,
Right.
many times worse. And it's not
Am-
only in the United States, it's over
Amen.
there. Yeah. So that's
I,
why I did it.
I wrote a book in 2013 that the biggest real estate bust was coming. It was Rich Dad's Prophecy. And it's just because I could see all the stupidity of what you call the banksters and debt. And national debt of America is about 36 trillion. Our annual payment on debt is $1 trillion. And you know how long it takes to pay $1 trillion at $1 a second?
Yep.
30,688 years. And we're the biggest debtor nation in history. So they have AI as the was that from the Chicago fire? The woman, the cow kicked over the lantern when she was milking the cow, and it burned down Chicago. And so, do you think AI is going to be that fire that starts?
We definitely do. It's really a risk. It's really a risk because you have these companies that are doing AI for, again, 6 million rather than 100 million. But again, you just mentioned the debt. This is an article from the Wall Street Journal on February 3rd. Wall Street frets over U.S. debt plan. It's exactly what you're saying. You said 36 trillion. When you look at the numbers behind what they have to pay out in the future,
Oh, right.
what is it? About 220 trillion?
Yep.
So
That's
one of the
off
things
balance
that,
sheet debt, it's called.
yeah, there's no way. The other thing, Trump is very pro crypto. He says he's not going to do it, but, he does change his mind with things. Could we see a central bank digital currency coming? What do you think?
What Jim Records says is interesting because Jim Records was part of the long-term capital failure and the Asian debt crisis. He says they bailed out Wall Street. Who's going to bail out the central banks next? So that's what Records is forecasting.
Yep.
Anyway, it's really an interesting time. It's not a time to be complacent. Anyway.
No, you have to keep learning. And again, we look at things for the way they are, not the way we want them to be. But going back to the, Trump is very big into the digital world. And of course, a lot of the digital guys threw a lot of dough into there too. So
He goes where the money is.
yeah, follow the money.
Yeah.
And as the old Bronx saying goes, money talks, bullshit walks,
Yeah.
So The could they? Let's go to China. Look what you just put your palm out and you're paying. Nobody's using currency anymore. And I believe that they're going to come out with to build to get rid of this debt level. They're going to say we're going away with that dirty cash and we're coming into digital trash. So we're going digital. Again, goes back to AI. All things are connected. The younger world is all digitized. They'll be very happy with a digital coin.
Yeah.
Everything is going to become digitized. Oh, remember when we were old? I know a lot of people don't remember this. There used to be things called musicians. Now everything's synthesized. It's a whole different world. The people are used to it.
Yeah.
So I think a digital coin is going to come out. And I can think more and more central banks to beat their debt level, they're going to come out and create something new. Again, look what Roosevelt did. Turn in your gold. Turn in your gold. They'll do anything they want.
Yeah, what Joel's talking about is back in 1933, President Roosevelt took all the gold away, and then I think it was at $24 or something. He brought it back at 35, and
Yep.
fortune on it. But anyway, Joel always talks about the banksters, and this is the thing that I was watching. Joel was in 1971. Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and the dollar became debt in 1971. And I've heard people call America, they have Saudi Arabia exports oil. America exports debt. And I'm watching this debt grow all over the world. And everybody's in debt, credit card debt, mortgage debt, student loan debt. What does the trends forecast have to say about debt? Or do you guys do anything on that one?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, this week we're just writing about the consumer debt. The credit card debt's going way up, and the national, global debt again, and the debt is really an issue. And by the way, 1971, you know who the Treasury Secretary was? John
Conway.
Connolly.
Yep. He got shot.
I could send you after we go off the air. I'll show you a picture of me, John Connolly, and his wife Nellie, 1992, in front of the book depository.
Oh.
His first time back, their first time back since the assassination. He wanted to meet me because one of my books, Trend Tracking, Far Better Than Megatrends, this is 2 weeks before the 92 election. I had forecasted back in 89 that the public was looking for a new third party, someone like Ross Perot. Now, I'm only mentioning this because you mentioned about taking us off the gold standard. Connolly was the Democratic governor of Texas back in the day when he took the bullet in the back.
Right.
As we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, he said to me, I read your book. He said, it's a fine piece of work, and I know your heart's in the right place. He said, well, you don't have a clue what's going on, and neither do the American people, because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country. This is the John Connolly that the Democrat governor took the bullet in the back. That was also the Treasury Secretary under Nixon that took us off the gold standard.
Yeah. And
So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Right. You look at countries like Japan right now. They're in debt up to their eyeball. And what they started to do is, this is my concern. There was a thing called MITI, Ministry of Finance. They advised the Japanese Central Bank of Japan, and they printed trillions of yen, but they never devalued the yen. So they kept the yen strong and just printed trillions of it. And they were buying people like Madison Square Garden. They were buying Pebble Beach and all this stuff. So those are those banksters you talk about, aren't you?
Yeah. These are serious
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
We don't give financial advice, but we're bullish on cryptos, particularly Bitcoin. We've only began to become bullish back in 2017.
Yeah.
And we're still very bullish on gold because it's a safe haven asset, and there's a lot of concern going on. One of our top trends for 2024 was we said it would be a golden year for gold, and gold prices went up 25% last year. I didn't think gold prices would go up as high as they are right now.
No.
And this is beyond, but the reason is there is a lot of concern going on,
Yeah.
particularly in the investment group. They know that the valuations of the stocks are quite high.
Yeah.
And this AI is very, very concerning to a lot of people that are looking at it very deeply. And I have to tell you, I'm surprised at the openness in a lot of the reporting going on in the mainstream media, giving the facts about the true dangers of it. Because usually they try to cover it up, not to freak people out.
Yeah.
But they're putting a lot of facts down that are very important for people to understand that's going on with this AI world. And again, here's your cover. This is what we wrote, by the way, back in 1999. .com overload will short circuit many high expectations for huge profits in internet commerce, entertainment, and the wide array of .com services. Following the holiday season, many of today's high-flying internet stocks, the hottest IPOs, and newly emerging IPO wannabes will have begun their deep descent from their overvalued heights. And
Right.
that's exactly what we have now. Newly emerging IPO wannabes.
Right.
Inventing stuff that's brand new that they don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And these venture capitalists and a lot of the others invested a lot of dough in this, and they're going to lose it.
So Gerald, thank you very much. And for a fellow, I consider myself a New Yorker, with the attitude, and that's why I love Trump. Man, he says, I'll just take the Gulf of Mexico with me and take Greenland, and it pisses people off.
Yeah.
He's making he's shaking the world up, like it or not. So Gerald, thank you for the Trends Journal and all this. And I'd like to have you back on, and let's keep doing what we do, because somebody's got to be out there speaking for everybody. So thank you, Gerald.
Thank you for all that you do. I so much appreciate being on with you and for all the great work that you've done. Thank you so much.
You and I are joined at the hip, my friend. You and I are joined at the hip. So we come back, we'll have a final word from Rich Dad. Welcome back. I want to thank my friend Gerald Celente. Like, I've never met him, but like I said, we all grew up in the same part of the world, which was Long Island, New York City, Bronx, and northern New Jersey. And that's where this man here, Donald, is from. And this was a picture of him I took with him. And the patch is still on his ear. He was shot the day before. And that guy is so tough. I don't, he, Gerald and I are the same age. I don't know how he keeps going. But like him or hate him, that's his style. And he's going to keep his promise to make America great again. But unfortunately, he has some strong headwinds and a tough economy and a lot of people that hate him. So anyway, I want to thank Gerald, and I want to thank all of you. I think this time we also got tougher again and not get pushed around so much. So thank you for watching the Rich Dad Radio Show. And, please invest in your financial education, because nobody cares more about your money than you do. Thank you very much.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.